Hello everyone. I want to take a moment to walk through MetaFlow. I did some work with the help of Outer Bounds to get MetaFlow working on a Platform9 Kubernetes deployment that is on 3 bare metal nodes sitting on a co-located data center. So what you're looking at right now is actually a real production Platform9 management plane that's deployed. If we go to infrastructure, I can actually show you where this is deployed. If we go to clusters, this Phoenix NAP cluster is actually a single master, 2 workers, again, sitting in a Phoenix co-located data center. If we come back out and look at actually Kubernetes, and we can go look at specifically the workloads on this cluster, we can, if I do a search, we're on pods, do work for, let's actually go to deployments. And if I go search for, let's say, MetaFlow, you'll notice that I have the MetaFlow service running, the MetaFlow UI, and MetaFlow static. So MetaFlow static is actually the front end web UI. MetaFlow UI is the back end, how it's communicating, and MetaFlow service. So key thing here that we're doing that's different from, say, an Azure deployment, an AWS deployment, or a GKE deployment is that instead of using S3 for buckets, what we're doing is we have min.io set up in this environment. In fact, if I set up min.io, you'll be able to see a min.io S3. It's this one in particular that's set up. It's pointing to. We also have MySQL on here for the back end as a database to store this for this environment. So set up specifically for an on-prem deployment. This was actually, MetaFlow was deployed using a Helm chart, and then we did configurations afterwards. Taking a step back from that, if we go look at what the configuration looks like, if we do a MetaFlow configure on this environment, configure show, you can actually see here's the S3 buckets where it's pointing to, it's dropping stuff into, like the endpoints. Basically, everything you see has min.io S3 configurations and what are the Kubernetes kind of configurations so that when we run the script, or run the Python script that I'm going to do here in a little bit, it'll actually deploy out into that environment. So let's, before we get started, let me bring up the UI. All right, so here we see this is the MetaFlow UI that's running. We've run some jobs, MetaFlow a couple times, movie stats. So let's kick off the job. What I'm going to be running is actually from MetaFlow's tutorials, a simple script. What this does, it takes it loads a movie, a metadata CSV file into a data frame, and then it provides some movie genre specific details. Like I think you'll see like romance and like comedies, and as these jobs come up through here. And then part of this, and like what you can do with this is that you can actually, in later examples, improve upon the playlist generator. Then you can actually eyeball the results in a notebook. Or some simple plots in the matplotlib library. So what you'll see, I have Python 3. Here's the actual Python script run with Kubernetes. I'm going to kick this off. What you'll see here in a second, you'll see the tasks start to kick off. You'll see that it starts to set up the environment. You'll see there's the movies.csv. In just a second now, you'll start actually seeing it deploy, and you'll start seeing all the pods pop up. So if we look at here, the task is starting, it's pending containers waiting for creation. Once it's done, you'll start downloading the contents of basically script and deploy it. And you'll see it now, the tasks are kicking off in the background and they're running. So you'll actually be able to see this if we get out of this, back in here, do a refresh. You'll notice that now you'll see this job running for 34 seconds and it's in a running stat field. And here you'll start seeing it start plotting some points on here. We'll come back to this as a comparison. If we come into, let's do like a git kubectl git pods on that environment. Here you'll notice all these pods that are being created are all these tasks for the MetaFlow data that's being kicked off. So you'll see, yeah, there's quite a bit going. See, some are completed, some are in the running status. So that's everything in the default namespace. But let's take a look too as well. So these all started with what, like a T dash. So let's actually take a look at that in the UI. So let's go into, so we can do that from a command line using kubectl. We can go into the pods itself and do like a T dash and see what shows up. There they are. There's those same ones, and we can jump into it. These are different ones that were launched at different times. Let's see if we can find the most current one. Some of these were what jobs that were kicked off but never completed. So you can see that this was a job that got terminated, and you'll see the containers associated to it. So the great thing about Platform 9 is that not only can you see the pods, you can see everything that's related to it. So if the services, if we were looking at deployments, you'd be able to see the services as well as the containers associated with it running, or if they're terminated, any ingress that's associated, any persistent volumes, events, or logs as well. So what's great about this, you don't have to go into CLI and pull the logs. You can see what's going on right there from the log just by kicking it off. So let's go back into MetaFlow. Let's go back into home. We'll do a refresh so you see the most current what's running. And now you see all the different plot points, the tasks getting kicked off, how long they took. And you can actually see the duration of what this is taking. I think I've run this before. I think it runs around like the 8 or 9 minute mark to fully complete for this job. But yeah, that is MetaFlow running in a simple Python script, kicking off to run on a Kubernetes cluster, sitting in a co-located data center on Platform 9. Next step that I'd like to show, I'll follow up with a secondary video, is using Argo flows in events to kick that off, so you can actually schedule those flows and visualize that using Argo workflows. So that'll be phase 2 of the video. Thank you.